Breaking news that affects every Canadian household. The Canadian dollar has slipped to its lowest point in 2 weeks, sparking speculation that the Bank of Canada may soon cut interest rates. Now, you might be asking yourself, why does this matter to me? What does a weaker dollar mean for my groceries, my mortgage, or even my future? Tonight, we're digging deep into this story, because the Canadian dollar isn't just a number on a financial chart, it's a mirror of our economy, our politics, and yes, even our national pride. In the next few minutes, you'll discover why experts say this could be the calm before the storm. Could the Bank of Canada make a dramatic move that reshapes the economy? And if they do, what ripple effects will hit your wallet first? Let's set the stage. For weeks, analysts have warned that pressure is building on the Canadian economy. Slowing consumer spending, global uncertainty, and interest rate policies south of the border have all created a perfect storm. And now, that storm seems to be hitting the Canadian dollar, pushing it down and raising fresh fears of a rate cut. First, let's get one thing clear, the Canadian dollar isn't just some abstract number traders watch on Bay Street. It's something that touches every Canadian, every single day. When the dollar falls, imported goods, everything from smartphones to fresh fruit, get more expensive. If you're planning a trip abroad, suddenly your Canadian dollar doesn't stretch as far. And for businesses? A weaker dollar means mixed fortunes. Exporters love it, because Canadian goods become cheaper for foreign buyers. But import-heavy industries, like tech, retail, and energy, suddenly face a bigger bill. In other words, when the loonie dips, it doesn't just move charts, it moves lives. And that's exactly why this story has the attention of politicians, economists, and everyday Canadians alike. Now, why did the Canadian dollar weaken this week? The answer lies in both domestic and international forces colliding at once. Domestically, economic growth has slowed more than expected. Inflation, though cooling, remains sticky in some sectors, leaving the Bank of Canada in a difficult position. Do they cut rates to stimulate growth? Or keep them steady to fight inflation? That uncertainty alone creates pressure on the dollar. But internationally, the United States Federal Reserve plays an equally critical role. As the Fed signals caution about inflation, the US dollar has strengthened, automatically pushing the Canadian dollar lower. Add to that falling oil prices, one of Canada's biggest exports, and you've got the recipe for a weaker loonie. Sticky, the Bank of Canada is forced into a corner. Do they keep interest rates high, risking a slowdown in jobs and investment? Or cut them, risking inflation rearing its head again? That indecision alone weakens the loonie, because global investors smell hesitation. And hesitation breeds vulnerability. The second big factor. Oil. Canada's dollar has long been tied to energy prices, and right now, oil isn't delivering the boost we need. Global crude prices have slipped in recent weeks due to oversupply concerns and sluggish demand from China, one of the world's largest importers. And when oil drops, so does the loonie, almost like clockwork. This isn't just about Alberta. Every Canadian province feels it. When energy companies cut back on spending, ripple effects hit manufacturing, services, and government revenues. In short, a cheap barrel often means a cheap dollar. Third, and perhaps most powerful, the US dollar. Right now, it's flexing its muscle. With the Federal Reserve signaling caution on rate cuts, the greenback has gained strength against nearly every major currency, including ours. That means even if Canada's fundamentals were strong, the loonie would still feel pressure just by comparison. For Canadians, this is a double whammy. Imported goods get more expensive, and cross-border trips become pricier. That family shopping trip to Buffalo? It's suddenly 20% more costly. That vacation in Florida? Your hotel bill looks steeper in Canadian dollars. And every time that reality sets in, consumer confidence takes another hit. Fourth, investor sentiment. Markets don't just move on hard data, they move on perception. And right now, investors see Canada as a country caught in limbo, not strong enough to resist a slowdown, but not weak enough to demand emergency action. This in-between state keeps the loonie vulnerable, because investors prefer certainty, and right now, Canada isn't offering it. And when money managers shift billions of dollars in and out of currencies, perception often matters more than reality. That's why even a whisper of a potential rate cut sends shockwaves through the loonie. Finally, let's not ignore politics. Whenever the economy wobbles, politics amplifies the noise. Prime Minister Mark Carney has been forced to balance international trade pressures with domestic affordability crises. Opposition leaders accuse the government of losing control over the cost of living. The result? More uncertainty. More finger-pointing. And yes, more pressure on the Canadian dollar. Because at the end of the day, currency markets don't just watch interest rates and oil prices, they watch political stability. And every sign of division in Ottawa echoes in the value of the loonie. So, to recap, stubborn inflation, weak oil prices, a powerful US dollar, jittery investors, and messy politics have all conspired to push the loonie down. But the big question is, what does this mean for you, the everyday Canadian? Here's where it hits home. If the Bank of Canada signals that it's considering a rate cut, mortgage holders, small business owners, and anyone with loans will immediately perk up. Because a cut could bring relief on interest payments, but it could also mean the bank is bracing for harder economic times. That's the double-edged sword, good news in the short term, but a warning sign for the bigger picture. And let's not forget politics. Every time the Canadian dollar takes a tumble, opposition parties seize the chance to question government policies. Is this proof the economy is mismanaged? Or is it simply the price of global volatility? Either way, Canadians are caught in the middle, paying more, worrying more, and wondering who's really steering the ship. To truly understand the significance of today's drop, we need to look back. The Canadian dollar has always been a reflection of larger forces. In 2007, it soared above parity with the US dollar, fueled by booming oil prices. But in the 2008 financial crisis, it fell hard, mirroring the global meltdown. Since then, the loonie has never been just about numbers. It's been about identity. A strong dollar gave Canadians a sense of pride, of power on the international stage. A weak dollar, on the other hand, often raises uncomfortable questions about dependency on the United States and vulnerabilities in our economic model. And here's the kicker, the loonie always tells a story. Right now, that story is one of uncertainty. Uncertainty about growth, about policy, and about Canada's future in a turbulent global economy. So, what happens now? Economists are already debating the next move. Some say the Bank of Canada will hold steady, hoping inflation continues its slow retreat. Others believe a rate cut is not just likely, but imminent. If that happens, Canadians will feel the effects immediately, lower borrowing costs, yes, but also a weaker dollar that makes imports more expensive. In the next segment, we'll break down the key developments that pushed the dollar down, and what they mean for you, for businesses, and for Canada's future. Stay tuned, because this story is only getting started. So let's break down the forces that dragged the Canadian dollar to this 2-week low. Because this isn't just about one number falling on a screen, it's about a chain reaction of economic pressures, political decisions, and global shocks all converging at the same time. First, inflation. Yes, it has cooled from the record highs of 2022, but the battle is far from over. While gas and housing costs have shown some signs of relief, Canadians are still feeling sticker shock on essential items, groceries, utilities, even insurance premiums. And here's the kicker, inflation doesn't just eat away at your paycheck, it erodes confidence in the entire economy. If you want to stay ahead of the headlines, make sure to follow our channel and hit subscribe. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you'll never miss a story that matters to Canadians.